Well, welcome back to Hematitehomestead PumkinMania. Man, it's been over a month since we've been in the patch. It's been crazy. No excuses. I've been extremely busy. I actually came out here several weeks ago, and it might even been a month ago now, and wanted to make a video. The patch looked horrible. It was in such disarray. I was like, man, I'm not putting this on video, so I tried to get it cleaned up, and this went on for days, and then eventually didn't get a video made. I've been fighting lots of problems and had a bit of a struggle on my hands for the most part. It's been a constant battle of cutting holes to bury vines, going over here where I don't have weed fabric and weeding. I got to the point where I said, man, I don't want to grow on fabric anymore. I don't like not being able to see the soil. It's too hard to come in here and try and play catch up, burying vines and cutting holes. And then when I go over here on this other side of the patch, it just looks like crap, weed overridden. Then I'm up there weeding and thinking to myself, man, I wish I'd put this on weed fabric. So it's a catch-22 for me right now, man. My wife told me just the other day that she doesn't know why I'm doing this. I'm clearly not having any fun or enjoying it at all. And she's probably right. I had to take a little bit of a step back and reevaluate and try and gather my senses about me. I was getting really frustrated with the weed fabric. I was behind on burying vines. It's really hard to come in here and cut all these holes when you got 6 foot of secondaries on each one, trying to get caught up on, and struggling up there trying to get weeds out of that portion of the patch up there where there's no weed fabric, and struggling with water. We watered 2 days in a row earlier in the season. It was, like I said, it's been forever since we've talked. 600 gallons each day, whole patch. At the time, I still had 10 plants going out here. Now I only have 5. And did that back-to-back days for about 1,200 gallons. All that went through my softener. I know there's a lot of debate that you're not supposed to do that. We don't have another option. I cannot bypass the softener. A couple of years ago, we bypassed the softener over in the field pumpkin patch, where we grow field pumpkins in the boar pasture, about a quarter of an acre of land, and grow over 100 pumpkin plants. And the bypassed water straight out the wells painted everything orange, and not nice pumpkin orange. It was heavy iron rust orange. Painted the ground, painted the leaves, painted the pumpkins. I can't do that over here. But we did come up with a solution to that. I asked my neighbor who has creek access if we could pump water out of the creek, and they didn't have any problem with it, and that's what we've been doing. I've been filling up 275-gallon totes. I got them loaded up on my trailer. I go down there and fill those up, bring them up here, put them in the patch. And then we've also got quite a bit of rainwater collected over the last couple of weeks. So that's kind of going my way. My delivery systems is where I'm struggling at. It's like every single delivery system that I've built only does the job for a minimal amount of time. And then the pumps don't want to do no more. They're tired. They give up. Hoses bust. I've been fighting the battle, man. Hasn't been much PumkinMania this year. You know, it's supposed to be a big hoopla thing, like Hulkamania or Pyromania. But PumkinMania here is kind of taking on an all new meaning. I have pumpkins and they're driving me crazy. Let's run through the patch real quick and show you what I got. At the end of the video, I'm going to tell you about the one thing that I've gotten absolutely 100% right this year. It's probably the only thing I've gotten right so far, and that's bug control. At the end of the video, I'm going to talk to you all about exactly what I'm doing for bug control. All right, so we talked about pumping water out of the creek. It's kind of hard to see on the video, but way over there, you can kind of see this is the bridge that goes over the highway. It's out here. And Dunlap Creek runs underneath of there. And we've been we've been pumping water out of that and bringing it over here and transferring it to the patch. All right, so I am in front of the 872 Cucumber plant. So let's give you a quick update on what we got here. I do have a fruit in here. Right underneath this little tent here, we'll take a look at in a minute. It is 25 days old today. So I said I wasn't going to grow on fabric anymore. I'm not convinced that I won't do that. I do like not having to weed, but you can see up here in the upper portion of the patch, I mean, lots of grass, lots of weeds, and I've been working on it. I've been trying to do it little by little every day, and it's just it's a lot. So I do like not having to weed, but I don't like having to come in here and catch up. I got to where instead of cutting holes, I was cutting strips and laying the vines in the strip, and that's worked out fairly well. You'll see here, I got some burned up leaves, and what happened here was we had a week's worth of rain, rained about 3.5 inches in 4 days, and I fed on Monday, which is the day that the rain started. Then it rained for 4.5 days. I didn't feed at all. Come Thursday, I came out here and fed, and I did not have time to do a water wash afterwards. And then you see here I got my shade cloths, which I've strung up on 550 cord. I've been coming home at lunchtime every day and pulling these over to plants, and the next day after I did this, I didn't make it home to do that, and they started browning. I didn't know what it was. I reached out to some folks and they said it's fertilizer burn, it's fertilizer burn, and I was like, daggone, I know exactly how I did it too. However, I've been very meticulous about, after this event, making sure I get a good water wash on these things after I put my fertilizer on, and I'm foliar feeding. And it seems to me like the plant's getting a little worse, and I don't really understand. So now I'm scratching my head a little bit, wondering, is this fertilizer burn, or do I got something else going on? And I hope I don't have something else going on. I've been really careful about doing a good water wash on these plants after a foliar feed, and it just seems like it's spreading, and I don't really know what's going on. It's got me a little bit concerned. I'm a little bit worried about it. The crown is underneath this table. I'm keeping it dry. I got a fan on it. All my fans are off right now. I turned them off so you can hear me talk. All I got to do is go over here and plug them right back in, and everything will start back up. Keeping it dry. I had a little bit of browning on it, a little bit of mushy spots on it early in the season, and put a fan on it, and it cleaned it right up. And I'm keeping that fan on it, keeping that dry. Also doing the same thing over here on the quality. Haven't had any stump issues on there. I'm just trying to be preventative down there. So it's got a little bit of shade over top of it. It's got plastic to keep it dry, and a fan running on it too. All right, so I talked a little bit about, I'm still not sold whether or not I want to grow on fabric anymore or not. But one thing I definitely will not do is I will never grow on this mill fabric ever again. We've used it in various spots throughout the homestead to grow things on over the years. Problem with the pumpkins is that, number one, it really seems like the soil really compacted really bad everywhere that I had it laid directly on the ground. I mean, I had to get a spade and dig up in it to get roots, something to go into. Number two, it's way too hard to cut holes in. I carry this around with me all the time, working out in the patch, and I spare blades, and I'm telling you, you better have this thing full, because this stuff goes through some blades. If you get behind, it's really, really hard to work around vines and get holes cut in this thing. I almost damaged some vines. I didn't, but I came dangerously close. Also, I wasn't cutting holes big enough. I was cutting them about this size, about the size of a large tomato can. And what I found there was at the top roots, you know, I'm burying at the nodes, the top roots coming out. They're not finding their way back into that hole. They're kind of laying on the mill fabric and trying to go from there, not finding their way back in the ground. After I realized that, then I started cutting like 12 by 12 squares and eliminated that problem. And the squares were actually a lot easier to cut too, because everything was straight line. I didn't have to fool with trying to cut circles. And I don't know why I was doing that to start with. One thing that I did to battle some of my rooting problems in the main vine here was I let the tertiaries on these back two secondaries, I let them grow, and they grew all the way to the wind fence, and I terminated all of them there. So I got 3 or 4 nodes on each of those. I probably got 3 or 4 tertiaries on both sides, and I got 3 or 4 nodes rooted in back there. Gave me a little bit extra. All right, I said I wasn't going to do any measuring this year. I was only going to focus on plant health and fruit health, trying to stay on focus with my goal to get a fruit to scale. But I couldn't stand it. I came out here and measured this on day 20. It's 25 days old today. I measured on day 20, and it was right at the, it was 139 pounds. So let's pull the sheet off of it and take a look. Oh, where did you come from? So I do have some concerns here. I don't know what to expect, what to think of some things. I mean, it's got a little bit of hard places around here. I sure hope it's not heading towards splitting. Named this Igor. You can't really tell right now, but it had a huge hump right here in this area, so I named it Igor for the hunchback. Had a split stem that was splitting on me early in the season. I put a fan on it, and it cleared up pretty quick. It stopped splitting. And one thing that I'm worried about on this fruit is this was not the fruit that I was supposed to grow on this, but I was unsuccessful pollinating anything after this. I only pollinated this to kick this plant into fruiting gear, and it did the trick. I had lots of fruit after it. I couldn't get any of them to take. This one did take. Like I said, it's 25 days old today, and it's not ideal spot on the vine. It's only got 15 secondaries behind it, and I didn't have it set up. I didn't have my vine turned. I didn't have an S-curve in it. I had to come back after the fact and do all that after I was unsuccessful pollinating anything beyond it. So it is what it is. I'm a little bit concerned. I tried to turn it the other day, but I didn't want to. I kind of stopped. I didn't want to mess up nothing. I was still trying to grow against the main vine, like in a straight line, and I thought I had it set up pretty well to where it was going to pull against the slack, but it seems like it's pulling this main vine. I'm going to have to pull root out on the first node right behind the pumpkin, and I'm going to have to try and turn it a little bit. So I do have some concerns with it, but right now everything seems to be okay. It is growing. It's I'm happy, I guess. I mean, I have some concerns, but I think it's already bigger than what my personal best is, so all I gotta do is keep it healthy and get it to scale. I'm taking a look at the whole patch now. So the quality down here, the Cosmore here, and the 1675.5 Nelson here. And one thing that I found is that these things grew way better than I thought they were going to, and I didn't have near enough space. The 1675 is my largest footprint plant, and man, it's still growing. I don't have everything terminated on it, and it's still got lots of vines actively growing right now. Clearly not enough room, so you can't really see it here. There's a walk board in here, and this is kind of the dividing point for the 1675 and the Cosmore. So what I had to do, because the quality down here was tucked in here, wasn't supposed to be grown, but we decided to grow it because it was doing so well and it was limited space. So the quality is almost all terminated. The only thing that's not terminated on the quality is the main vine right here and some of the new growth around here. Everything else is terminated at the wind fence and terminated at the walkboard, which you also can't see right around in this area somewhere. And then I took all the, I wanted to grow Christmas trees, but I didn't have enough room to do that. So I took the first two secondaries on the Cosmore and pinned them back towards the wind fence, and everything else is kind of the spider pattern coming this way towards us on both sides, and did that on both sides. I also had to do that on the 1675 for the same reason. I didn't have enough space between them, and 25 feet turns out to not be enough, so I'm definitely gonna have to do something different next year. But I mean, that's going okay. That's neither here nor there. I do have a lot terminated on the 872 Cosmore. These secondaries out here, they stretch out all the way from in there, but the back secondaries and the tertiaries we talked about, all that is terminated. Probably got secondaries terminated all the way up to about this point, and then I'm letting all this fill in still. And same thing on that side. All right, we'll take a quick peek at the quality. Again, we already talked about the quality is already terminated. Terminated back here at the wind fence. Terminated all through here. The only thing left on it not terminated is this new growth here. And I'm going to let the main vine creep all the way out here to the end of this white right here. And then I'll try and fill in all right here. And that'll be it for it. Again, the fruit that was not supposed to be. I had no intentions of growing this. It was an early season test plant, and looky here. This one is 1 day younger than Cosmore. Is 24 days old today, and they're doing about the same. Actually, this looks like it might have picked up a little bit on old Cosmore plant yesterday. I don't really have any concerns here with this one. Everything's going about like I expected to. It's not gaining like I thought it was going to, but I guess that doesn't really matter to me. Everybody that's watching probably knows one fruit to one scale. That's my goal, and that's what I'm shooting for. Let me get some more sand under you. I don't know what to think of this. It wasn't like this at all yesterday. Now it's like it's going to swallow its blossom. So it might drop me a comment, let me know what to do about that, out of position or whatever. It doesn't look like there's any stopping it. But like I said, it wasn't like that yesterday. This thing grew a bunch last night. And I do have one little spot on the front of it. I don't know if I can get the camera in here to it without getting a bunch of stuff. Well, you can kind of see it right down in here. So all this right here is a little bit of vine damage. This is a secondary right here that was kind of attached to the stem, and I was afraid to cut it off because I didn't want to damage the stem any. But you can see where it was pretty tight up against the fruit, and a little bit hard in there, but it healed up okay. I cut the secondary off yesterday, and I think it's going to be fine. This is also had a little bit of cracking early on, but fan and a little tiny dust of sulfur powder fixed that up pretty good. This is where I cut a big leaf off just to clean up my area here so I can come in here and do maintenance and inspections. I'm not even kidding you. I had an onslaught of cucumber beetles, and early in the season, these things were still in their grow huts, and they were everywhere. It was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. It's way too early for this. I fought cucumber beetles like crazy last year. All right, so to initially fight those cucumber beetles, I used my 7 concentrate. I don't like to buy the stuff on the shelf. I like to mix it myself. I mixed this at 1/8 strength of what it said to mix it to for the amount of water that I was using. And the reason I did it at 1/8 because these plants were still really small, 4 to 6 feet, not even 6 feet. Some of them were 4 feet and less, and I didn't want to risk killing them right off the bat this season. So I mixed it at 1/8 the strength, gave it a good spray down. They had to spray the walls in the huts and the roofs and the ceilings. And I'll tell you this, if you're going to do that, you better be wearing a respirator, because I almost took myself out along with them bugs. So that did a really good job of killing everything that was out there. I mean, there were all kinds of dead bugs out there I didn't even know were there, in addition to cucumber beetles. And then I wanted to treat the patch with something. At the time, it was all plants in huts, and the patch was wide open, no fabric, no weeds, no nothing. It was all nice dirt, okay? So I had plenty of access to it. And I wanted Dominion because I like using liquids. I don't like granulars or water solubles. I couldn't find any. Well, I found some, but I couldn't find any that I could get quickly. So I bought Talstar granular. I followed the directions on the bag, and I put it all over in the patch and then watered it in. And because it needs water to be activated. That helped for a little bit, okay? That wasn't great. The thing that helped the most and has really taken care of my cucumber beetle problem was switching to systemic pesticide. And my choice of systemic pesticides is Merit 2F. I did all the research. I Googled, looked up everything, and this is what I chose to use. So what I do with that, once a week, I've been doing this once a week, mixing it in a 50-gallon drum, and I've been putting it right in with my fertilizer feed, delivering it all together. 3/4 of an ounce in 50 gallons of water, and then I let that circulate with my pump and get good mixed up for 30 minutes to 40 minutes. And I've been delivering it by hand, foliar feeding, and watering in the soil on all these plants once a week, every single Monday. And I'm telling you, it's doing the trick. I found dead cucumber beetles on my leaves. That tells me that this stuff is doing its job. In addition to that, I haven't seen a cucumber beetle in 2 weeks in this patch. 2 weeks, I haven't seen a single one. And since Beginning of season, I've only seen 3 squash bugs, period. So I have my bug control 100% down pat this year. It's the one thing I've gotten right. The one thing it's the one thing I've gotten 100% right this year. Okay, I'm not an instructional channel. I'm only a 3rd-year grower. Never got to fruit to scale. And I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just sharing with you what I'm doing, sharing my journey with these fabulous fruits. And that's definitely working for me, and it's going to become a standard for me from now on. All right, guys, I certainly hope that wasn't too long and too boring for you. As I stand right here in front of this embarrassing weed patch. I will try and do weekly updates from here on out. I've really been trying to make a video, but man, just things get away from me. All right, so hit that subscribe button, follow along the channel. Appreciate you sticking with me through this one, and I'll see you next time.